that right there is a true successful chef. When you can put good food up and you can be Hello, Chef Marcus Guiliano here, and I'm your chef on a mission. Today's mission is about chefs, successful chefs, unsuccessful chefs, or really the downfall of a good chef. There's a lot of really good chefs out there, good cooks out there that understand the fundamentals of food, that can execute good food, that can put good food up, that have good resumes, that have lots of experience. But there's one downfall that I've seen over the last 20 years in management that hinders their career, that hinders their success, and that's their attitude. That's their attitude and lack of ethics. It is amazing in this industry, all industries really. It's just amazing that people just don't have respect, ethics, and they walk into places to work and they think like the employer owes them all this stuff and that they're this and they're that. And bottom line is if you're a chef and you feel like you're entitled and this and that, then you need to go out and have your own restaurant and see how it is and hire staff and figure it out yourself. So over the years, I've had people come into my restaurant, whether it's been country clubs that I've been the executive chef at or here in my restaurant, and they'll come in and it's just like they expect to change a lot of things. They expect that they need all this respect right up front. And of course, there's a lot of bad employers out there. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of really bad employers out there, and I see it in this field. But I've noticed this common denominator along the way that if you're a chef that's walking into a place and you have a bad attitude, and you think that you're all high and mighty, and that you think that when somebody doesn't agree with you that there's problems. I've seen these chefs go through the Hudson Valley, because the Hudson Valley is not a large area. I mean, yeah, I'm sure it's 8 counties, but throughout our area of the Hudson Valley, I see these chefs hopping around from job to job to job, and it's a joke with us people who own restaurants that, hey, so-and-so's got a new job again. It's his 3rd job this year, it's his 4th job this year, and what we say is, it's too bad because he's a really good cook, and he understands food, and he could be a great chef, but he just can't get along with people, and he can't respect the fact that he's not the owner, and he can't respect the fact that he just needs to respect the place that he's working. You've seen this, Jamie, right? It happens all the time. We just hired a guy, and there's like I said, there's a lot of bad employers out there, and there's a lot of bad interview processes that might mislead people coming on the job. So this can be a two-way street, folks. So don't think I'm just me talking how bad certain employees can be. This can be a two-way street because there's a lot of really bad restaurant owners, bad bosses out there, just as much, and that's their hindrance as well. That's why they're not as successful, because they just can't piece all that together. So quick story about one of my last hires, recent hire. I went through the interview process. I was looking for a sous chef, somebody to come over and really just take the kitchen by the lead, and so I don't have to be in the kitchen all the time, be able just to tidy a lot of things up, the ordering, the inventory, help me with menu planning based upon our theme. So I interviewed this guy. He came in to check it out at night, and he's in the kitchen. He's like, I'm here to be the sous chef. I'm here to be the sous chef. So now, the one guy who wanted to be sous chef was like, well, what do you mean you're interviewing this guy to be sous chef? I'm like, well, listen, he wanted to interview. I came in here and interview him. So this guy got all nervous because he's like, yeah, I'm going to be the new sous chef here. So the guy who wanted to be sous chef ended up quitting that night. He's like, well, competition's a good thing, by the way. So he came in here like, oh yeah, I'm going to be the new next sous chef. I'm the next sous chef. I'm the next sous chef. Meantime, he's just interviewing for a job. So he's got like everybody up in arms in the kitchen like he's their new boss. And he's just coming in to check things out. And then the interview process, when I sat down with him, was very explicit. Oh, I've eaten at your restaurant before. I know your food. I know your style. And he explained to me that where he worked now, he had to work for 3 different area chefs. When he went to one property, another property within the whole resort. And the fact that when you go someplace, you have to do what that chef wants in that location. So, and the exact example we used was, well, the one chef here likes butter when you cook eggs, and the other chef doesn't like butter when you cook eggs. He likes to use oil in the pan. And he goes, you just have to adapt. And I said, so you're fine adapting? He goes, I'm totally fine adapting. We went over the hours, we went over everything in detail. And I said, how much do you need to get paid? And he goes, I need this. And I said, I'll give it to you. No negotiating. I said, I'll give it to you. Went through the job description, checked everything off, perfectly fine. He comes in and works for 4 days. And I sit down with him for the 4th day. He's like, I'm having problems. I'm like, what's your problem? He goes, I can't be creative here. I can't use butter and cream. And I said, well, you knew that coming in here, that we don't use much butter and cream. We do use it sparingly. We do use local cream. We use a high quality butter, but it's not like we're pounding butter into every dish and cream into every sauce like a lot of places do. We're on the healthier side. We're on the green certified side. That's not our style of cuisine. We have a lot of Indian influence. We have a lot of Asian influence in our cuisine. We have a lot of really different ethnicities that really don't use cream and butter. We use do a lot of Southern Italian preparations, vibrant olive oils, the big flavors like that. He was like, I just can't be creative. I thought it, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you knew this coming in. And then he goes, and the hours. I'm like, okay. I was like, so after he listed off several things that weren't working for him after 4 days, by the way, I said, okay, that's fine. I said, I'm sorry I misled you. I said, I'm sorry I misled you, even though I know I didn't mislead him because I went severe. I dotted all my I's, crossed all my T's, went through all this. I've been doing this for 20 years. And I said, okay, so just cut to the chase. What does this mean? What does this mean right now? Are you leaving? When are you leaving? Are you interviewing? He goes, well, I have an interview on Wednesday. I said, okay, I have an interview on Wednesday. So if you get that job now, and it's summertime here, I'm in a crunch. I lost an employee because he came in and said he was the next sous chef. So I'm down an employee. So it's like, okay, I have an obligation the next 2-3 weeks, a very important obligation, and I'm off site a lot. I'm not really here, and you know my situation. So I've been very explicit about that. So what does that mean? You're going for an interview on Wednesday. Oh, well, I said, you're giving me 2 weeks Wednesday. Well, yeah, I'll give you 2 weeks, and I might have to go there a little earlier, and I can still work with you, and, and help the transition and this and that. I said, okay, my wife, as soon as he leaves, my wife goes, he's gone. I said, I know he's a goner. I totally know he's a goner. But he told me that, he can give me 2 weeks in a roundabout way and fill in and do this and do that while the transition happens. The next day, I get a text message 20 minutes before a packed Sunday brunch. I'm no longer coming in. And this is like, this is the downfall right here. And I understand the job didn't work out for him. Here's probably what happened. He probably took a job that he was just taking a job so he can move back to the area. First job I got offered, I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna still keep my feelers out there and see what other jobs I can get. And he probably getting an interview for a job that's making more money. But then he told me what he needed to make, and I gave him what he needed to make, and I'm always fair like that. What do you need to make? And if somebody goes, I need to make $85,000, I'm like, okay, well, my budget's not $85,000, my budget's $50,000. So there's no way that we're gonna ever come to terms here. I don't wanna waste your time, you don't wanna waste my time. If you say, hey, I want to make $50,000, I'm gonna say, okay, I'll pay you $50,000, right? You asked for it, I gave it to you, just as an example. And that's been my philosophy all along. Oh, I need $12 an hour. I need $15 an hour. Okay, I'll give you $15 an hour. Prove to me that you're worth $15 an hour. But I'm not saying this is the person that's going to do this, but throughout my history and throughout, especially in the Hudson Valley here in New York, these same chefs keep recycling jobs. It's like the joke amongst us restaurateurs, like I said, is where's so-and-so working now? How many jobs has so-and-so had this year? Because we all know each other. I had another guy who came in and said, well, you promised me this much money, and I know I didn't promise him that much money, and the first week I was like, okay, but I'll give it to you anyway. And he goes, well, so-and-so at another restaurant offered me this money. I said, well, what if I called so-and-so at the other restaurant? And he kind of hesitated and this and that. So I called so-and-so at the other restaurant, not in front of him, and I said, hey, what'd you offer this guy? And he goes, oh, I offered him this amount, which was far less than I was willing to pay him to begin with. And then he used the other guy as leverage to get to me, and it's just like, really? And of course, he didn't last long as well either, because again, these people might be good cooks. They might be good cooks. They might be able to put good food on the table. When it comes to how they handle themselves professionally, it's just a disaster. It's a nightmare. Now, I've gone to one job where I knew that, hey, this job was not for me. I'm not happy here. I went to the chef and I said, listen, I just got here. I just moved here from New York. I'm not happy here. This isn't what I was expecting, this and that. I moved to Colorado into the ski country. And I gave him notice. I said, no, I'm here. I'll do my best. I'll give this and that. I'm still here. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I don't want you to do anything you don't want to do. I'll get you out of here as quick as I can. I said, hey, I'm giving you 2 weeks. I'm giving you 2 weeks, this and that, whatever. And he goes, well, let me do this schedule. I might be able to maneuver. And he had me out of there in like 4 or 5 days. I worked for a guy at a country club, the president, who was a vice president at Hewlett-Packard, one of the vice VPs at Hewlett-Packard. And his philosophy was, once an employee gives notice, they've mentally checked out. And I was a young chef at the time, 24, 25 years old. And Jamie, you can probably relate to this. Once a person gives notice, they've mentally checked out.
100%.
And
that's why I said what I said to you.
That's why you said. He was already checked out.
So why even give him any more time?
Right, he was already checked out.
He's only been here 4 days. Why give him more time?
Right. Even if you've been here 4 years, even if you've been here 4 years,
It wasn't worth it to put that energy.
you're checked out. And Hewlett Packard, I remember, he said, Marcus, at Hewlett Packard, you give notice, you're gone. Of course, they pay you, your severance or whatever, severance package, this and that. But the day you give notice is the day that you're gone. So they'll give you 2 weeks or whatever. And I remember at the country club, the general manager gave notice 4 months before his contract was up, 3 months before his contract was up. And that vice president, never forget this, Eric Lessing, the president of the country club, Eric Lessing, never forget this. He said, okay, today's your last day. Here's your next 3 months paycheck. And Eric Lessing did the job for 3 months while the guy's contract was still in effect, so the country club was not out financially. He goes, I will take over the job. You're mentally checked out. You're done. I don't want somebody here for the next 3 months giving them a paycheck who's not going to be productive and have the best interest in mind of the country club. I'd rather do it myself and know, because I have vested interest in this country club. I'm a member, I'm an equity holder, and I'm going to make sure that it's done right, and I'll cover the finances of this. So here's your money, and I'll do it for free, because I'm already the president, so I might as well, just take on more roles, be more involved, make sure it's done right, and not find out in 6 months from now that you screwed something up because your mind wasn't here at that place. So a lot of us restaurateurs aren't to that point where when somebody gives notice that we can just say, you're gone, let you go, because you're mentally checked out, because we have a restaurant to run, and a lot of small restaurants, one short staff member, when you have a staff of 3, 4, 5 guys in the kitchen that are already working 50, 60 hours and the overtime's racking up and these guys are mentally drained, you lose one person and you're like, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to get by with this? So it's like you have to, as a restaurant owner, you have to balance now, okay, when is this person meant? And I've kept people to 2 weeks, and they're out there. They're mentally checked out of there, and you have to like micromanage them. And I had the conversation. I was like, don't mentally check out on me here. You have 2 more weeks. If I'm paying you, I'm expecting you to do your job to the fullest, not walk around with earphones on, and all of a sudden blah 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 blah. And it's amazing. So that is my best advice to a young chef or to a chef that's out there. And this is what I do in my talks when I do career days of school. I've been doing career days of schools for 15 years to middle schoolers and high schoolers. But this is what schools don't teach, is the ethics part of the equation of any profession you go into, is the equation ethics. Don't burn bridges. A friend of mine said, hey, I wanted to invite so-and-so in. This just happened like a month ago. Hey, I wanted to invite so-and-so in. But he said to me, he goes, I'm probably not welcome back there. And I go, he's not, because he burned a bridge. He told me he was going to stay for so long, and he screwed me, and he walked out the next day when he knew what my situation totally was. So yeah, you're right. He did burn a bridge, and he knows he burnt a bridge. Now he wants to come in for a drink, and he's uncomfortable coming in for a drink and meeting a friend because he burned a bridge at a place when he didn't have to do that. You never, ever, ever know when you're going to need that employer, want to go to that restaurant and feel comfortable again. There's not one single employer, maybe the one that I said after my first week or so, that really wasn't for me. Other than that, everybody who I've worked for, I'm 100% confident they would offer me a job today, right now, if I called them and said, hey, I lost my restaurant, I went bankrupt, I want to come work for you as a sous chef, and this, or I want to come work for you. And I would think every single employer that I had that's in business right now, whether it's a hotel or restaurant, would say, Marcus, you're welcome back. Because I still talk to a lot of those people. I'm still in their professional networks on LinkedIn, and we communicate. And that right there is a true successful chef. When you put good food up and you be a responsible, ethical person in that realm, in that community, in that professional community, that's what makes a good chef, folks. Not somebody who can cook good food and pop and do 5 or 6 different jobs every year and keep looking for a job, keep blaming every single employer that you've had because it's not your fault. It's the employer's fault is why you can't keep a job. I'm Chef Marcus Guiliano. Leave your thoughts, your comments, and I'd be interested to see what you guys think, and I'll be happy to answer questions.